everyone, Rebecca the Frugal Resinista here, and today I am going to be making some resin geode coasters, but I am going to be using all items from my home other than the resin itself. It is currently April 23rd, 2020, and we are in the middle of the COVID-19 quarantine. Some of you may be in a slightly different position depending on the country or the state that you're in, but we're on a quarantine right now, and so we're home pretty much all the time. And it made me think about the fact that a lot of times, I know we can order things on Amazon and stuff like that, but if you want to go pick things up, it's not always possible right now. I am going to be using the Stone Coat Countertops Quick Coat Resin, and I will link you to the different resins that I use in the description below, but we'll be using that. And then to color it, I have just craft paint. Maybe some of you have this laying around at home if your kids use it or something like that. And then I have some eyeshadow that I got at the dollar store a while back. Just a bunch of different shades because I thought it might look interesting to scrape it into my paint and see if it'll give it a shimmery look. And I figured today's the day to try it because I don't know about you, but for me, when I use eyeshadow, a lot of times I'll buy it in a compact and I'll have a couple colors I really love and then extra left over. So maybe you have some left over at your house. I'm going to be using parchment paper for baking as my base. I'm going to be using my glue gun, and I'm going to teach you guys a new edging technique. And it's actually really cool whether you're stuck at home or not. I feel like this is a really simple way to get a really good finish. So what I'm going to do is actually draw the shape of my freeform coasters, just a bit of a rough edged shape. I'm going to do 2 of them today just to show you how it works. On my parchment paper, I'll draw the shapes and then I'll flip it over so I can see the approximate line that I want, but I won't get any of that line onto my actual resin piece. And I'm going to outline those with my glue gun. And then once my glue has dried, I'm going to do 2 layers. I'm going to take this Aquaphor. If you don't know what this is, it is used for chapped skin and different things for wounds and just different stuff like that. My boys, we have it in case they get a diaper rash, but you could substitute Vaseline for this. I'm going to take this just with my finger and coat the inside edges of the glue rings that I make so that my resin doesn't stick to it. And it's a brand new technique for me. I don't know if anyone else has tried it. I haven't seen it tried yet, but we're going to get started and see how it goes. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is mix up all of my resin and my paints. I typically use these little shot glass cups that our dollar store sells in packages of about 20 for $1. But if you're in a bind and you're at your house and can't get supplies, definitely use the little Dixie bathroom cups or any disposable cup that you need. I am using apple barrel paint for my white. That's a Walmart buy for $1. And then I have 2 folk art brands, one in turquoise and one in Calypso Sky, and those were just over $1 each at Michael's. And then I also have a Deco Art and a Craft Smart paint. One is a metallic paint, it's called Rich Espresso, and the other acrylic paint is called Light Taupe. And so I'm going to put all these into my little cups, and then I'm going to add some eyeshadow colors to mix in. going to lay down some of my paints right on the outside edges of these to kind of hold the paper down a little bit. I have some messy spots in here that I'm not really worried about. I also have extra resin. What I do is I always keep something handy to put it in if I have extra, and I have these molds to make more coasters. So I'm going to pour the extra in there. I'm going to move this around some, and I'm going to show you what I do. Sometimes I like my lines to be very defined, but for this one I kind of want to move my colors around a lot. You can use a hairdryer to pop your bubbles and to move your colors around. I have my blowtorch with me, but a hairdryer will work fine. If you use a hairdryer, the one thing to keep in mind is that you will want to start your hairdryer far away from your resin and slowly move in, because if you start it really close right away, you could end up accidentally moving the resin too far or shooting it right out of your mold space. Okay, I've let these sit for about 5 minutes because I want all the bubbles that are going to come up to the surface before I pop them. Again, I'm using a little blowtorch, but you can absolutely use a hairdryer for this. Now, my blowtorch I don't want to use to move things too much, because if I do that, I will really burn the resin. So I'm going to take a little plastic straw from a cup that one of my kids had one time that broke, and I'm just going to blow this to make all of the edges softer. It's been about an hour since I poured these. I'm just going to give you guys a bit of a close-up. Look at the lacing in that. That's really cool how some of that copper color is coming through the white. I didn't want these to be exact geodes because with a really realistic geode you would need stones and things in the center, and I can't really do that with a coaster without having things be bumpy and then drinks not sitting on these evenly. But I'm really excited about these so far. I am going to now unmold them and we'll see how well the mold worked. I've cut the extra parchment around these off so that they're easy to unmold at once. I was going to try to peel them out of here first, but they come off of the parchment paper very easily. So let's start with that. And you can see this side's a little wrinkly and it's not shiny. That's what I was expecting because parchment paper does wrinkle. So if you're wanting something to look great on both sides, you would want to add another coat and maybe some different colors and everything to the other side. Oh, I think it worked. See how it's peeling away? My resin is not cured all the way to super hard right now. I want it to be a little malleable so that I can move it around to peel it off of this, but this is working great. Typically, resin right against glue will not let go very well at all. Oh, that's so exciting. So there's one. And again, I'll have to lay it flat because it is cured enough to touch, but it's still able to be a little flexible. I suppose if you wanted to keep your mold, you could try to do this without pulling the glue off of the parchment paper, but I find that in general, glue doesn't stick super well to the parchment paper for long either compared to using a silicone caulk or something like that. All right, so that Aquaphor, or if you used Vaseline, seems to have worked really well. I'm really excited about how well that worked. That's awesome. I am going to now grab a few of my little paint pens and just draw some extra details in here. I'm going to use these little Posca brand acrylic paint markers. If you don't have something like this at home, because I know this isn't necessarily something people would have, you can use some of those Sharpies that have thicker lines or even really thin lines or other markers. I would just test those first to make sure that when you pour resin, they don't smear. Sharpies seem to do okay with the resin that I use and not smear, but you do want to let them dry completely before you pour a clear coat. So again, these don't look just like geodes, so I'm not going to try to embellish them exactly, but I feel like adding fine line details into any of this type of resin project makes it look really cool. right, I'm gonna let those dry, and then we will pour a clear coat over the top of the whole thing, and I'm gonna just barely let it run over the edges to smooth them out, and then these will be finished. I'm now going to do my little clear coat. I'm using 2 more of these tiny cups, and again, if you have bathroom Dixie cups or anything like that, that would all work. I don't need a lot. I'm gonna pour a little bit here, and then since I don't have gloves right now, I've got a piece of saran wrap that I'm going to use to wrap around one finger and then to hold onto the edges of these with the other hand. The reason I'm doing that is that to get my resin to go over the edges, I don't want to pour it over the edges because that'll waste a lot of it. Instead, I want to pour it in the middle and then with my finger just get it to go over the edges. So we'll do that, and then we'll be on our last step. I'm going to let that cure, and then we will do the last little finishing touches, and these will be done. It's been 2 more hours, and these are now nice and hard, and we have 1 more step to go. One thing I want to mention that I forgot to show you the last time was when these were sitting here and I was pouring the clear coat over them, I had them each sitting on one of these cups, and I'm sorry I didn't mention that when they were happening. The last thing I'm doing is adding some felt pads to the bottom of these. You actually wouldn't have to add anything to the bottom, but just in case I set these on a glass surface or something, I would like to have something cushioning them. These felt pads that I have, I got them at the Home Depot quite a while ago, and I put a few of them on the side of a piece of furniture that was going up against the wall, so that if it bumped the wall, it wouldn't scratch it or anything. So these are just left over from that. They're sticky on their own, they're little stickers, and I am literally just going to flip these over and stick 4 of them on. Oops. I missed. My little 2-year-old assistant is in the background here. There, just like that. And push them down. And then they sit up just a little higher, and that's it. Thank you everyone so much, as always, for watching my channel. I just hit 40,000 subscribers, and I can't tell you what that means to me. That's so nice of you guys. You can probably hear birds in the background. I'm out on the porch since we're all in quarantine together, my whole big gang. But thank you very much. I hope you guys try this. I hope you look around for things in your house that you can use to make your own art. I'm really excited with how this one turned out. And it was a fun project, and it's a whole new technique for doing your edges, which is really cool. So I hope you try that as well as you make freeform geodes and other pieces of resin art. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again in the next video.